Are you ready? Break it down. Mention the Attitude Era to almost any wrestling fan, and they'll be happy to tell you whether they cheered for The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, or Mankind in some of their favorite matches and moments. But during this incredible boom period for the WWE, as a quartet, or quintet, one key group of rebels really stands out above the rest in terms of success, popularity, and vulgar catchphrases. That would be D-Generation X. This video will look at the figure choices from the DX army that form my personal collection. So let's start. Hi everyone, this is Ken with Toy Connections. If you would like to see more figure reviews, figure comparisons, toy histories, collection footage, and toy insights in general, please be sure to hit subscribe, click that notification bell, and press like. No Attitude Era shelf is complete without D-Generation X. The original 1997 crew was led by Shawn Michaels and flanked by Triple H, Ravishing Rick Rude as an insurance policy, as well as Chyna. In 1998, following the retirement of Shawn, the group was then picked up by Triple H as the leader and flanked again by Chyna, but this time with the new Age Outlaws and X-Pac backing them up. As mentioned, DX started in August of 97 with an inaugural team of HBK, Triple H, and Chyna. Rick Rude would show up from time to time with his loaded briefcase for outside interference, and thus an arrogant faction made its way into wrestling history. Often feuding with the Hart Foundation in the run-up to the Attitude Era, followed by feuds with the Nation of Domination or Stone Cold Steve Austin in the early parts of this era, DX's rebellious tactics and obscene hand gestures were embraced by many fans of the WWE as they began targeting a slightly older fan demographic compared to prior years. Leading the way for the new rebellious nature of the late 90s anti-establishment boom, Shawn Michaels was already something of a well-known outlaw backstage, and it seemed all too natural for this to turn up on screen as part of the show. Previously a smiling babyface good guy, the shift in gimmick flowed naturally into an evolving wrestling product at this time. This Mattel Elite flashback version actually matches Shawn's attire at WrestleMania 14 in March of 1998, with the chain mesh style pants and vest and the red tights that he wore to face Stone Cold Steve Austin, with Mike Tyson acting as an outside enforcer. As history goes, Michaels dropped the belt, was KO'd by Tyson post-match in a shocking turn of events, and he'd begin a 4-year hiatus in retirement. This figure resonates with me because Shawn's behavior at the time made for entertaining and compelling TV drama, giving me a bad guy to cheer against. For me, it was a natural evolution to see him progress from his days starting with the Rockers tag team, to his early heel days as the Heartbreak Kid, to his push at the top as a charismatically presented babyface talent that culminated in WrestleMania 12 with the Iron Man match with Bret Hart. Then of course onwards to the Renegade faction that he would lead, and all the while, Shawn became the WWE's first ever Grand Slam winner, winning the World, Tag Team, Intercontinental, and European titles. As for the original right-hand man of the group, there's a few figures that could represent this era of Triple H's career. The green-robed version here represents something of a transition in between when he started as an early blue blood snobby gimmick to the start of his DX days, and I do remember this attire during the late part of 1997. Released in a 2-pack with Chyna, it makes sense to put the European title on this version of Triple H, while the Winged Eagle World title would go with Shawn. Now, they did reuse the same head scan here for the more popular version of Triple H, which is the Elite 23 version shown here, which with the shirt that says DX on it is more indicative of his 1998 run when he was entering his prime there. And to me, that's okay, I guess, but it's obvious that the expression looks a little too much like his previous aristocrat wealthy gimmick rather than the carefree late 90s gimmick that we came to know Triple H for during this run. Having said that, this Elite 23 version is still one of the better options out there unless you track down the Legends version with the camel pants, but since 2017 this has been the main DX Triple H that's been in my collection. It is still a good figure after all. Towards the end of his DX run, he would switch over to his I Am the Game Cerebral Assassin gimmick, an attire that he wear long term and for the majority of his career. So if you happen to get any version of this, it will still work for DX, and is often what he would wear whenever DX would do a reunion of sorts during the 2000s anyway. For the two that I have here, the one on the left is from a 2-pack that came with Jeff Hardy and a SmackDown background, and the one on the right is the Ultimate Edition version. Now, with his relation to the McMahon family, there will never be a shortage of Triple H figures out there. I won't go over his title history as it's extensive enough to form his own Wikipedia article just for that alone, but trust me, he has no shortage of title runs. As for the 9th wonder of the world, Chyna, I've got a couple different figures of her. Yes, I'm aware that the purple attire and more expressive look is more indicative of her later run with the company. But my other more traditional version of her in the black attire remains in a sealed box with Triple H. Somehow in my travels I ended up with both a loose and a sealed green robe Triple H, but only one of the original attired Chyna. Either way, this WrestleMania Elite version of hers in the purple attire that comes with the women's title serves just fine. While she had a storied and sometimes controversial career, I don't get much chance to talk about her, so I will use the opportunity right now. I'm going to point out that my personal favorite moment of hers happened in a 1999 January Raw episode where DX and the corporation engaged in a makeshift Royal Rumble of sorts, with the winner earning the number 30 spot in the main Rumble itself that was coming a bit later. That billionaire cheat, Mr. McMahon, rigged things so that he would have every member of the corporation and DX eliminated while he declared himself the winner and, of course, the winner of the makeshift Rumble there, and thus getting the final comfy spot in the main Royal Rumble that was coming later on. Until DX's music hit one final time and Chyna came out to eliminate him, much to everyone's surprise as we went off the air. And it was this kind of swerve and sporadic moment that makes the Attitude Era so memorable, and Chyna was right at the center of this particular moment. Thank you for the memories, Joni. As for a member that's often forgotten, Ravishing Rick Rude was used for a few months after DX's formation in the late part of 1997, often coming down mid-match to interfere and help Triple H or Shawn win. However, post-Montreal Screwjob, Rick left immediately and is most famously now known for appearing on the same night in two different episodes in late 1997, once on a taped episode of Raw and on the other channel on a live episode of WCW Monday Nitro. My DX Rick Rude is actually a custom figure that was bought as is, and as such I don't have much to say about him due to his short stint with the faction, but I'll say this, I do think that his prior ladies man cocky heel gimmick during his heyday would have been a better fit for DX, but by 1997 he was injured and no longer active, so thus he took a vastly different role during this time. Oh, you didn't know? The New Age Outlaws are in my collection as well. I got the Elite 26 Road Dogg and Elite 27 Billy Gunn at the same time as my Elite 23 Triple H, as well as the X-Pac that I'll talk about shortly. You'll notice that I used the Jakks tag belts rather than the Mattel style ones, particularly as the Jakks ones are longer and can wrap around the rubberized DX shirts more easily. It's interesting that before these two became a tag team, neither Road Dogg nor Billy had much going for them in the immediate run-up to this era of their careers. Thankfully, Road Dogg would become one of the most charismatic talkers in wrestling history, with a voice that carries across any arena. A member of the famed Armstrong family, it's hard to imagine the Attitude Era without thinking of Road Dogg holding a microphone and doing his thing, followed by having a fun match with his partner. As for Billy Gunn, while he'd been in a tag team before, he'll always be remembered for his time with Road Dogg. Winning the tag titles 5 times together, Billy seemed to really let loose during his time with DX, being the one to raise the mic to the crowd when he would remind everybody that he had 2 words for them. I am quite happy overall with the likeness of both these figures, as I think Mattel did a good job to capture the essence, given that, unless I'm mistaken, these were done early with the WWE license with Mattel from before they had access to the TrueFX head scan technology. Now, along with the Hardys, Dudleys, as well as Edge and Christian, you really have to rank the New Age Outlaws as among the cornerstones of the Attitude Era's highly stacked tag team division. And so we get to X-Pac, Sean Waltman. He's someone who could be considered a very key player in WWE's New Generation era in the mid-90s, an early and important member of the New World Order in WCW, as well as an ongoing presence in D-Generation X. His return to the WWE in 1998 came at a perfect time. Shawn Michaels was having back surgery and wasn't expected to wrestle again, and thus X-Pac was a natural fit, being a member of Shawn and Hunter's clique anyway. Famous for his Bronco Buster and X-Factor signature moves, I'll say this, he for some reason had different theme music from the main DX theme, which I actually didn't like and I didn't consider it to be the best remix, but that's just me, and because I consider entrance music quite an important part of a wrestler's persona. Then again, in an era of quick matches where episodes of Raw and SmackDown were not as focused on match quality, I always admired X-Pac's talent as an in-ring worker, making him an obvious choice to carry the European and light heavyweight titles multiple times each. His expressive nature during promos and flamboyant gestures do a lot for DX to be memorable, and it's his presence that adds to this perfect mix and helps the group to become so legendary. So that covers the key members of the team. including original and longer standing members only. I did leave out a few temporary members. That's just for the purpose of this video because I wanted to stick to the guys who were inducted into the 2019 Hall of Fame, plus Ravishing Rick, who was inducted on his own in 2017. And if you enjoyed this video, I'll be happy to cover some of the other famous factions in wrestling history. Oh, and if you're not down with that,
we got 2 words for you!
subscribe now.